If you click on this video, you probably know what AI art is already, so I won't waste any time explaining it. I've seen a lot of conversation around AI art in comics, and I've been quite invested in the Zara of the Dawn situation, and at the time of making this video, there hasn't been any real conclusion to its copyright. This made me think about AI art seriously and what impacts it may have on the comic industry across the board, especially Webtoon as a platform. When the news started circulating about how advanced AI has gotten and started making its way into our art communities, I wasn't surprised. In my little brain, I knew that at some point, AI will eventually find its way to automate art because it's cheaper and more efficient than human labor. Since the Industrial Revolution, inevitably jobs have been replaced with automation, which in a way is good for dangerous and repetitive jobs, so we don't have to do them ourselves. And most importantly, more profit for the big guns. Now let's talk about Webtoon, one of the most prominent online comic platforms yet, and how I believe AI may influence it. Seeing that Netflix has already made a short film anime, The Dog and the Boy, which used AI to do work on some of their backgrounds, it'll be in no time Webtoon will latch onto AI when it gets good with hands and anatomy. The studio that made The Dog and the Boy said that they used AI to address the labour shortage. Of what though? Just say that you have a shortage of people who are willing to be overworked, treated as objects with minimum wage. There are tons of artists out there willing to do the work, but only if you treat them humanely. Keeping in mind that Webtoon is obviously a business, so naturally, they would prefer a machine that can make a 40-frame episode in 10 minutes as compared to a couple of humans who can do all that work in a week or more. We may see in the near future that in the featured section of Webtoon, AI-generated comics pop up. One good thing I could think about this is that it can really help overworked webcomic and comic artists across the board to get some help with their work. Perhaps it can completely eradicate the common problem of overworking and the health problems induced by it, like carpal syndrome. But then again, if AI is capable of handling most of the drawing process, or if not, all of the drawing of a comic, Webtoon would just get rid of the artists themselves. There will be no point in having them anymore. Maybe in the beginning they'll switch the artists up to only taking care of the scripting, storyboarding, drafting, special effects and lettering, but then soon enough, looking at how quickly AI is evolving, artists would soon become redundant. While this possibility makes me sad because many of their featured comic artists make a living out of this career, it also makes me angry about how Webtoon overworks them and expects them to work like machines. So once AI comes in, I suppose Webtoon will be happy that they can have actual machines that they can exploit as much as they want. So I don't know what to think of this, honestly. It's a win-lose. But there's one thing that could make Webtoon take a U-turn on this route. To a business, their consumers' wants and dislikes dictate what they put out. If the majority of the audience of this platform refuse to read comics generated by AI and lean towards human-written and drawn ones, then AI taking over the platform short-term is unlikely. Though long-term speaking, AI assistance and generation of comics may become a part of the norm, which then people will become more accepting of it and consume it without second thought. For example, nowadays, people no longer need to buy plates and cups from a potter, so now instead, you can just go to Kmart, Walmart and just buy it for $1 or just a couple dollars. It's cheap because it's mass-produced without little labor needed, and it's the norm to buy from these manufacturers. Despite all that, there is still a market for handmade ceramics, though the industry is much smaller in size and demand compared to 300 years ago, as it's no longer a need, but rather just an option. I predict the same things may happen with comics and art in general. The majority of people and businesses will opt for automation. But there'll always be an industry for art and comics made by humans because, at the end of the day, there will be people who prefer handmade products. So the art industry won't disappear as a whole, it probably would just downsize. In terms of Webtoon Canvas, the page where anyone can post freely but you only get paid an ad revenue if you reach a certain number of subs and views, I am an old boomer who doesn't like imagining the canvas page getting filled with AI comics. I find this possibility a problem. Apart from the pre-existing popularity of an artist, if the Webtoon Canvas team could get comics that are posted daily or very frequently, lengthy episodes, decent art and a good story all in one, they will definitely favour them over others to promote. Webtoon will always choose the option that extend the reader's time spent on the app the longest. I'm not saying there aren't any existing out there that already meet all the criteria, but with AI it is a lot easier to meet those points because the majority of the whole drawing process is skipped. Compare this to the average comic artist on the platform. This schedule is humanly impossible to keep up with. Because comics are not a full-time job for most, many manage school or work simultaneously while drawing in their spare time. Plus, majority do all the drawing and scripting themselves. If we say the average full-length episode is about 30 frames on canvas, which takes about 30 to 35 hours including storyboarding, then it would be less than a fortnight to complete if an artist dedicates 3 to 2 hours a day to it. Many don't have the luxury every day to draw, so it will take even longer than that. Because of this, I see canvas artists post episodes in parts, weekly, to keep up with the demand. Comparing the two, AI-made comics can easily overtake handmade comics in only a matter of time. Webtoon Canvas will lean towards AI-generated work because it fulfills the criteria, and which will be bumped up and promoted on the spotlight page of Canvas over Artists. I sound incredibly pessimistic, and I hope that it doesn't reach this extent. Either Webtoon bans AI-generated art across its platforms, or if they allow AI, they should have a separate page and tag to indicate them. One thing for sure, AI never stops humans from pursuing their passions. For example, there is still an industry for handmade crafts today regardless of automation, because there are artists and audiences who still appreciate and enjoy handmade art. So if you feel discouraged about starting art because of all this AI madness, don't let it stop you. Remember that AI generation is a completely different process from handmade art, so there's no point comparing yourself to it. But career-wise, if you want to pursue more in the commercial field, for example, you work for businesses, games, or companies, if I speak realistically, it may not be a feasible career at this rate to pursue. But it definitely should be something you spend time on because you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to keep updated with my work. Feel free to check out my Webtoon and socials in the links below in the description, and see you in the next video.